So whilst I'm doing my work sat here a lot of the time, guys, I like to watch something in the background. I'm often typing on my computer and watching a documentary to expand my knowledge in the background. I was watching a thing the other night about working in America in the 1960s. And this really sparked my interest to make a video like this one. As we're told a lot nowadays that young people don't want to work. Young people are lazy and they just don't work like previous generations did. It's not a young people issue though, as most people seem to hate their jobs. Most people are really disenfranchised by the thing that they do for work, because they do it all the time. Most of their time goes to work. I'm going to title this video something to do with office work in the UK, but the reality of it is this is most work in most parts of the world, especially the Western world as people call it, as we've almost created a culture focused around financial productivity more than anything else. And this is something which day to day we do see have a massive impact on people's mental health and physical health, and it's something that we need to speak about. If you're somebody who has an ambitious drive, a will, or someone who understands that this is a system which they see as wrong in their personal life, please subscribe to the channel, as I'm going to be explaining to you guys why this is something which you often need to address absolutely critically, and why getting out of the hustle culture 9 to 5 office life is something which you should aspire to, and we're also going to be speaking about some options on how to do this. Now, I was speaking briefly about the documentary that I watched in the 1960s in America. And this is a particularly pertinent, or it stood out to me, because like I say, we're told that young people don't want to work. The reality of this is that people have hated their jobs really for decades, probably for centuries. The difference between then and now is those people in the 1960s in the videos, and they were working in a car factory, I believe it was, a car factory making cars, probably in Detroit, right? Those people were able to do that job, get a nice life from that salary. Fast forward to the modern day UK, and actually the same is true in the majority of the world, the US, Canada, the like. Okay, you work the same basic job, or even a more high up tier job, you don't get that same quality of life. So the equity that people got from that work has now massively eroded. But not just a cost of living crisis, because that is going to be a challenge for anybody, irrespective of the way that you make your money, if you're below a certain financial threshold, okay? So that's not necessarily just related to the job. There's more to life than just money. And people can say this, and then they'll say, well, that's all well and good to say if you've got loads of it. The reality of it is most people can live a better, more free life than they think if they give up some of the arbitrary measures that they have. And this all ties back into the office worker lifestyle. You get up at 9 AM, okay? You give away all of your day. In fact, no, you don't get up at 9 AM. Forgive me. You wake up at 7 AM, 6 AM. Clock out at 5. Okay? Sometimes 6, sometimes 5:30, sometimes 6:30. The majority of your day goes to doing this task, and most people don't even like it. And we're told that this is the aspiration in life. This is what you're supposed to do. The quality of your character is determined by how much money you make in this job, okay? Not necessarily even how much money you make, because I was speaking to, I don't want to go into too much detail about this particularly, but I was speaking to someone the other day, and this person was essentially not looking down per se, but they were kind of looking down on the way that I live, because the assumption was that I don't make very much money because I run my own business. And you tell people this and it's like, yeah, of course you do, you know. Like, people look at someone like me who has a cheap lifestyle, an old car, I try to save as much money as I can in every facet, and people are like, yeah, you've got a business, well done, okay. But it's because I have clocked out of that system in a way. Now, I still have my financial ambitions, okay? I still have my aims of having lots of money, and I want to have a nice car and a nice house. I'm like everybody else on that front. But I understand that there is more wealth to life than just financial wealth. And that cost, guys, that cost, okay, of the 9 to 5 lifestyle, I will do it if I have to do it again. If my business fails tomorrow, or if there is a short-term advantage, I would do another 9 to 5, okay? But long-term, I can never see myself doing that for 40 or 50 years, right? I just couldn't see myself doing it. Doing the same thing, facilitating someone else's dream. And you speak to these 9 to 5 people, and obviously we all know them. Maybe you are one of them, okay? They become a shadow of their former self. Their life, the majority of their life energy is work, okay? They lose the ambition to take risks, have fun, and try new things. They even lose the spark in a lot of instances which made them tick. The main interests are the gossip in the office, okay? The constant anxiety from having to wake up at an arbitrary time decided by someone else. The constant stress of deadlines, right? All the while, you get paid more or less the same money. If your salary is, let's say, 25 grand, no, let's make it generous. If your salary's 50 grand, which is already hard to achieve for a lot of people, but let's just assume it is, you can complete that task in half the time and you get paid the same amount of money. And this is where the real issue comes in for most people, because office work, not only is the lifestyle draining, okay, and I've always thought this was a scam. And I don't know if you guys are I don't know if this is a sort of video where people are going to say that I'm soft or lazy or whatever. I make my money, okay? I'm not a broke person. I have money. I make money. So that's my way of doing things. So before anybody says it. But you see these 9 to 5 people and you think about the lifestyle around it. You wake up at 6 or 7. You either drive or get the bus or whatever it is. But if you drive, it's arguably worse, because you drive this car, even if you've got a nice car. And this is another trap of it, and we'll get to this perhaps in a different video, but you're told to buy all of these nice things. I had a friend who realised the thing that I realised a few years back, but has realised this more recently. And he said, okay, the societal, I mean, this was not his words exactly, but this will resonate with a lot of you guys. The societal norm was to get a nice house, a nice car, and then you'll be someone. You'll be a someone, okay? You'll be a someone. But then he realised, the house, you're never in. If you've got the car, you can never drive it, okay? Why have a sports car that you can't drive for fun? Why have a lovely house that you never sat in? It's a waste of time. This once asset is now a liability. So, people are sold this image that one day they'll be free from this as well. And it never comes. It never comes. And by the time it comes, guys, you'll be so old that it won't matter. You won't care. I'm 22, and you guys may agree with this, you may say I'm wasting my life, time will tell. This is a subjective matter. I am pretty happy overall with where I am. I value at this age the freedom that I have more than I value a fancy Audi, okay? I value the freedom that I have more than impressing people by a fancy job title. And the funny thing is, and this is where it gets interesting, even though my lifestyle from the outside, you'd probably look at me, guys, and say that I'm broke. I'm not even going to lie. You'd probably look at me and say, well, this guy, he's not got designer clothes, he's not got a fancy car, he's not got a fancy house or apartment. This guy's broke. I probably have more than a lot of my 9 to 5 similar age people. Because it's not just the UK. People like to make this point, the UK's terrible, okay? You can have a very good and a relatively cheap life here in the UK, relatively. People are told, and this is where it gets funny, because I speak to people about, and I know I'm kind of going on a rant here, but this is important in my opinion. You speak to people and you say you can have a cheap life in the UK or a quite cheap life, and they say, well, how can you do it? They're so brainwashed that they don't even think about the cost-cutting measures, or the fact that you don't need a car at all, or the fact that you can, even if you really wish to, move to a cheaper part of the world, live on half the money or a quarter of the money, and making £500, £1,000, £2,000 a month online is honestly not that hard, okay? Through investments, through businesses, through YouTube, through selling stuff, you know, different things. It's not that hard to make that money online, which can go a long way to a cheaper life in the UK or a cheaper life in a different country. My point, though, more broadly is this. Office life is draining. You waste all of your time, you can work as hard as you like, and you won't get any more money for the same task. This particularly is going to impact negatively ambitious people. If you're quite lazy, and by the way, some people are like this. If you're the sort of person that needs to be instructed, nothing wrong with that, by the way. Some people need to follow instructions, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. If you're that sort of person, you need to be told what to do, you like it easier, then a 9 to 5 is probably great. And this video makes it sound like I'm talking nonsense. But if this resonates with you guys, you need to find your own thing whilst you have a chance. Because I'm going to tell you firsthand from experience, having freedom especially whilst you've still got your freedom in other aspects. And what I mean by that is, if you're a young person, I'm not going to say a man or a woman because it's true of either, and maybe you've got a partner or you're single, it doesn't matter, right? As long as you've not got kids or an expensive house or a long-term mortgage or something that you're truly locked in with, that freedom, that peace of mind from having the choice over your own time is priceless. Now, this is where ambitious people will benefit the most. And this is where ambitious people actually get hurt the most. They get hurt the most in an office, but they benefit the most in a business. Because if you're ambitious in an office, you get turned into the office slave, right? If you're the sort of guy who goes up to the manager at the end of the task and says you've done it in half the time of everybody else, you won't get a pat on the back. You won't be told that you can relax for a bit or to have a break. You won't be told that you should be paid double for the efficiency that you've done. There'll just be more work to do. And you'll get paid the same at the end of the day, and you don't get to go home early. Okay, let's say there's an 8-hour shift, you've got this amount of files to look through, let's say, you finish it in 2 hours because you're efficient, where most people aren't. Do you get to go home and have the remainder of the 6 hours? No, not at all. You still gotta work, guys. You still gotta work. In a business, you get this though. My income on a day-to-day basis depends on how motivated I am, how efficient I am, how dedicated I am, how smart I am. If I want to upload 10 videos in a day across either this channel or all of my different YouTube channels, I will make more money. If I want to upload 0, I will make less money. Okay? And this is not the same as in an office, because the amount of work that you put in an office will often not reward you financially in the way it would the same in a business. If you're in the 9-to-5 office trap, guys, and this is what I said in a former video that I've just finished filming, you've got to question why you were there, and you've got to realise that this is going to flash by in the blink of an eye, and it's an experience with no real life experience, sat in a dark room all day for the rest of your life, okay? To bosses which don't care about you, and companies which are less and less loyal. They won't hesitate to drop you at the drop of a hat, okay? They do not give a toss. They're not invested in your journey. They're not invested in your mission. If you decide to take this journey for yourself, you will become richer financially, mentally. You'll become better off, okay? And like I say, this is something which you have to experience. And I've been in both situations. I've worked the jobs that I've hated. I've had the managers which, are... And this is not going to sound good, but the managers where you look at them and say, this guy's a worse person than I am. And I don't say that to be supercilious. I say it because it's a fact. Or the times where you don't want to go into work, or you've got this task to do that you disagree with. I've done all of that stuff. Okay, so I'm talking from a place of experience. I've also had my freedom. I've also woken up when I want. Morning, afternoon, it doesn't matter, okay? I've also travelled the world with my freedom. I've also gone out for a walk around town on a random Tuesday at 3 o'clock because I can. And let me tell you guys, I have sacrificed some things. If I went and got an office job, I could have the generic middle class life. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe there is something to that, okay? I could have 2 cars. I could have a house, a this, a that. And some people will say, well, you're being lazy or you're being stupid. You can have all of these nice things. But what is a nice thing? Is something truly nice if it takes away all of your time? Is something truly nice if it ties you down to something which you fundamentally disagree with in this portion of your life? Maybe there'll become a time for me where an office job is more viable than a business. But that time is not now. And anybody who can, I recommend starting a business. Anybody who feels this way, I recommend asking the question as why you're doing what you're doing. And I recommend looking into some potential escapes, because the 9-to-5 office life in the UK, Europe, America, it's not designed to benefit you. You'll give away more of your time forever with no end in sight. You need to be creating an escape plan, saving cash, maybe buying a house in cash if you can, paying it off in a few years if you can, okay? Maybe moving to a different country, maybe building a business, maybe moving back in with parents, having a house share with multiple people. That freedom, you are going to sacrifice other things. You may have to, like I say, move to a different country where you don't understand anything, or live in a house share, or go back to parents, or a cheap house, or a worse house. A 9-to-5 is a stepping stone, guys, or at least it should be. If it's your long-term plan, then the exhaustion that you're feeling at 20, 30, 35, 40, that's going to be a lifelong outcome. And to me, that is a terrifying prospect.